Seth ground his teeth together. This is your mother. Remember the marketplace? I steered you right to her, Seth. Didn't I introduce her? Oh, that's right. I was too busy fixing the probabilities from my hidey hole. Pharaoh bowed toward Havar, a hand behind his back. Seth, let me present my mother. When he finished with the mockery, he rose with a glower in his eyes and signaled his lackey. Oral came at them, his cudgel swooshing left and right. Seth shoved Havar away, taking a stand between her and the lodestoner, dodging swipes that came within inches. The man grazed the skin along Seth's forearm, before adding a glancing blow to his torso. In a pulse of pain and numbness, Seth reeled to the concrete. Havar bolted for the darkness, but in a few blurred strides, Pharaoh outpaced her. He yanked her by the forearm and dangled her in the air. Make me a brother, tart. If you pop out females, I swear I'll toss them in the river. As Seth ran a finger along his gash, a familiar sensation came back to him. The cudgel, it was oak. Oral lifted the cudgel and arced what should have been the knockout blow. Seth rolled on the concrete, his hands reaching for the probabilities. The cudgel missed his temple by a finger breadth. Seth shot his hand behind the oak and plucked it from the man's fist. Impossible, the man said. Improbable, yes. Seth swiped the lodestoner in the knees and the man crumpled to the floor. Lifting himself up, Seth winked at the man as he clutched his knees and moaned. But then, I should know. Probabilities are my trade. With the cudgel, he tapped the man in the forehead enough to put him under. The probabilities are my trade, too, Seth. The boy tossed Havar aside and strode toward him, twisting and twirling the staff from one hand to the other. And you can never beat a grandmaster at his trade. From her spot on the floor, Havar shook her head. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I can still see the man's face. It's much like that face. She pointed to Pharaoh. I see it in his eyes. The same fervor. The same hunger for power. She shook her finger at Pharaoh. But the boy I gave birth to was nothing like that. Raising the cudgel, Seth drew all the remaining good from the field, concentrating the probabilities within the oak. In his inner vision, the translucent threads faded into non-existence. Just yesterday, Havar, this was a boy named Pharaoh, not this thing whatever it is. The boy pounded the staff on the concrete. I'm still Pharaoh. But I'm still your Azazel Tree, Seth. I'm its heart. Where you bottled the probabilities. I'm every bit of what you made me. You are what you made yourself, Pharaoh. In a way, you are the boy I regret meeting on the rooftops, and yet, I have to wonder, were you ever really a boy? Were you ever innocent? I'm not a boy. Pharaoh scowled at him, raising the staff over his shoulder, moments from raining the oak down on him. Stop calling me one. Seth flung the oaken cudgel as hard as he could. Up and up, the cudgel flew, bursting with good, spinning in near invisibility. In 2 eye blinks, the cudgel lodged into Pharaoh's skull. Pharaoh toppled to the concrete with a boom and the staff rattled to Seth's feet. The body convulsed and blood trickled from the wound. After one last twitch, the fleshy parts rotted away, leaving nothing more than a withered log. Fighting a wave of nausea, Seth grabbed his staff from the concrete. He'd never killed before. It was self-defense, he reasoned. He had to protect Havar. He had to save Nade. By all logic, he had done the right thing. But it still felt wrong. Seth strolled to the copper cylinder, and ignoring his aches both old and new, scrambled atop the platform. The cylinder hummed and droned. The hair on his scalp and neck began to rise. Whatever art the lodestoners practiced here, it was indeed dark. He pressed his staff to the cylinder and sensed the probabilities bottled within, a year's worth of good. With the oak, he siphoned every morsel, and released it into the city. Havar looked up at him, her eyes wide and shaking. Is it over? He slumped to the platform. Is it ever over, Avar? From the rooftop, Seth dismissed his dozen apprentices, men and women who, over the months, he had stumbled upon. None of it was happenstance. The translucent filaments good itself had drawn them together. Soon, he would teach them how to drain evil from the field, bottling those probabilities into a new Azazel tree. 3 remained behind: Avar, her husband, a thin man with a cropped beard, and of course, Talitha, their daughter. "Are you sure you won't change your mind, Seth?" Avar asked. "She shows promise." Seth put his hand under Talitha's chin and tried not to think of the girl as Pharaoh's half-sister. She, in turn, beamed a smile at him. "In fact, I think she's stronger in the probabilities than any of us. But it can leave one tainted. At least, one so young." He patted Talitha's shoulder. "It's not good to grow up too fast, knowing the ways of evil. One day, she just might be the salvation of Nade, but all in good time." The field of good and evil hovered over the city-state, motionless, as if asleep. Tonight, Nade would rest easy.